friends, and welcome to another day of Crochet and Crime. My name is Hazy Baby, and today is my favorite day because it's May 4th, and I love saying, May 4th be with you. Yes, I am a giant nerd. It's okay. It's okay to be nerdy. It's okay to love all that geeky, nerdy stuff, okay? So you do you, boo, and you be you. Anyway, so if you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome. Come on in, take a seat, pull up a pew, if you will. I crochet while talking about crime. Specifically, I talk about Australian crime, although occasionally I do talk about American crime and crimes from other countries because they're interesting. I just talk about any crime, really, while I crochet a project. I am a fiber artist, so that means I pretty much crochet, basically. I work with wool and all of those kind of fiber things, and I don't use a pattern, I just make it up as I go along. So if you would like to crochet with me, you can. I also have a crochet along, so you can head on over to my page and have a look. If you're on YouTube, then the content will be straight after this little introduction. If you're on TikTok, I'm sorry, you'll have to wait. You have to wait just a little tiny smidgy bit of a wait. Just a tiny amount of waiting that you have to do because I have to upload them one at a time. And it's kind of frustrating. And for some reason, my phone like overheats like a crazy person every single time. It's like super hot. Anyway, I'm currently working on Lillian. Isn't she beautiful? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she gorgeous? Okay, so if you would like to see me and watch me, yeah, head on over to my channel and you can see me. I put snippets in if you're on TikTok, and if you're on YouTube, then you get to watch it right now. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, wait, before you leave, before you go, before I go and then you go. Anyway, I have a competition going. So if you go over to YouTube and you subscribe to my channel, you can go into the draw to win my crochet along blanket. Whoa! I just almost threw a bunch of balls at myself. Ha! That's what she said. This guy, and his name is Raymond, and he is my crochet along, and if you would like to crochet him, you can just go into my channel and look at the parts and then go along, and I promise I don't talk that quickly when I'm on there, but I do when I'm on here. So, getting back to my point, if you want to win him, or get into a chance to win him, then go to my channel, subscribe, and comment on one of my videos. And that's all. And that's it. And then I will draw it once it's finished. And I have 1,000 followers. So, see you in a minute. Okie dokie artichokey, without another second and without a dollary do, let's move on to our very first story for today. And a Perth man has been thrown from a roof of a car by a thief who was trying to steal it. That was a mouthful and a half. Do you like how my nails match my blanket today? It's so pretty. She's so pretty. I couldn't help myself. I actually painted them and then waited like an hour because you know how like it takes forever for your nails to dry. It's just so irritating. Anyone who's ever used regular nail polish. My blue light ran out. Well, it didn't run out. It just stopped being effective, I suppose. Alrighty, so 1 and 2. Chaining. And then 1 and then 2. Alrighty. So, here I go. So, a Perth man has been seriously injured after being flung from the roof of his own vehicle in an attempt to stop it from being stolen. The 25-year-old man noticed someone inside his Ford Ranger at 7:40 p.m. on Monday night, and which was parked outside of his home. The man jumped onto... I don't know why. Sorry, it's just funny. I just don't understand why this would be your thought pattern, but okay. The man jumped on the roof of the car, sorry, and tried to stop the thief from taking it. Like the thief would have some sort of moral, you know, obligation to having to, yeah, not drive off with him on it. But anyway, I think he was thinking that the man was going to be much better than what he was. So 1, hold on, 2, 3 and 4, and then a front. Double crochet around there, like that. Oh, look guys, it's getting so pretty. It's getting so pretty. It's going so well. So CCTV showed the man climbing onto the vehicle as it tears through the streets. So he was like clinging, on for dear life as it's like going through the streets. Oh my God. I know this is not like supposed to be comical, but I don't know how you couldn't laugh at that. It's pretty darn funny. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, look, the thief didn't stop. He suffered serious injuries, which is not funny, to his head from being thrown from a moving vehicle after it crashed into a parked car. Yeah, and the man is recovering in hospital. So that was a short story. Not so sweet, but absolutely horrible. And I feel so sorry for that guy. I know I'm laughing, but I always laugh when I feel uncomfortable. Plus, it's kind of a stupid decision to make. Like, someone stealing your car, bruh, just let it go. Like, your life is way more important than a car. Like, way more important than a car. Seriously, just let the thieves have it. At that point, you just got to be like, you know what, guys, you want it so badly, take it. Take it. Because you can always get another car. You can't get another life. And no doubt he had regrets of jumping onto the car the moment it sped off. He would have been like, oh my God, what a stupid thing for me to do. Oh my God, am I going to live through this? Probably was what was going through his head. Because that would have been absolutely terrifying. So terrifying. Okay. So, moving along, a teenager faces court as a family is mourned the 3 that were killed in a car crash north of Brisbane. So, if you were listening to my podcast earlier this week, you would be aware of a case that I was talking about where a young teenager, a 13-year-old actually, stole a car and... Wait, I was doing half doubles, wasn't I? Oopsie daisies. Stole a car and then crashed into another car, so causing a car pileup and killing 3 people in the process. I also spoke about how it's like super important that we try and fix what's wrong with the system rather than blaming the system for, rather than blaming the children for the system's faults. And then my dog's barking. So, a 13-year-old Queensland boy has faced court for the first time after being charged over a crash that claimed the lives of 3 women and left another fighting for her life in hospital. As devastated family members and friends pay tribute to the victims... Sorry, my dog's going off. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, look, I have a Rhodesian Ridgeback, and he really, really hates the neighbour kids. And they're the little tiny kids. And then my little dog starts going off. Anyway, it's a whole kerfuffle. Anyway, so nurse, as I was saying, Nurse Cherie Robinson was 52, was from Torquay in Hervey Bay, was driving home from work when she was killed alongside of Kensley Davis, 17, and Michelle Chandler, 29, on Sunday. Robinson's mother, Janet, said that she's not doing too good after losing her daughter, who was the mother of a son called Benny. So, which is absolutely devastating. Oh no, now the grandma's gonna have to step in and take care of the wee little boy who unfortunately doesn't have a mum anymore. So her brother Glenn was also overcome with emotion. I mean, these are obvious statements. Of course they overcome with emotion. He said he lost his little sister and that's it. That's all he has to say, which is basically, yeah, I would be too. His sister Lisa said that she was a devoted health worker and was going to be missed and always going to be in their hearts, as you would suspect. The sudden deaths hit home when they went to her house because, you know, it was just quiet. It's just the silence. The silence is devastating. There were clothes on the line and she was just going to go to work and then come back, and she never made it back. The trio were killed when the 13-year-old boy allegedly got behind the wheel of a stolen Mercedes and crashed it, taking 2 cars with him when he crashed. So, like I said, I was pretty sure that he caused a pile-up. Anyway, so the trio were killed by the 13-year-old, and so therefore there has been calls for tougher laws on juvie, because that, you know, it's not going to solve anything. Tougher laws are not going to solve anything. They have no frontal cortex reasoning. We need to get them help. Stop blaming them. Stop blaming them and start fixing what's wrong. It's never going to fix it. Anyway, so juvenile offenders in Queensland have grown louder after this tragedy, which is ridiculous because, like I said, I feel like we're just wasting our time, effort, and energy, really, trying to go in the same direction that we're always going in and hoping that it'll solve it and pick something different. Okay, I've got to go, guys. My dogs are going off their frickin' banana. I better go see what it actually is. I'll be back. Anyway, continuing on. Sorry about that. Apparently my dogs have decided that they're going to just have a barking party for no reason. So I'm going to ignore them, and hopefully they don't bark too loudly for my videos. So apparently Janet, who is the mother of one of the victims, said that these young juveniles are protected so much, and I honestly don't think that they are. They're not. They're really not. I can appreciate her feeling that way though, because she lost her child, and yeah, it would feel like that. So she says that she has to suffer for the rest of her life with the consequences of this child. And I would argue that that child also has to suffer for the rest of his life with the consequences of his actions, even though he no doubt didn't mean to hurt anyone. I don't think that there was an intention there for him to cause harm to anybody. I honestly believe that he just wasn't thinking, and that's the problem. The problem is these children are just not thinking, and they don't have anyone stable in their life to tell them that that's probably not a good idea. So it's going to take time, apparently, for these laws to take effect, but they want Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk to make tougher laws on these children. And I actually feel like there should be tougher laws on their parents or their guardians, because honestly, the problem stems from somewhere. And these children are just that. They're children, and we need to protect them. And obviously something is going wrong, because no normal, healthy and mentally stable 13-year-old steals a car and takes it for a joyride and, almost kills themselves, but kills other people in the process. No one does that intentionally. So, with intent and with malice. So, yeah, looks like my dogs have stopped their bullshit, which is good. Another victim, Kelsey Davis, died just weeks shy of her 18th birthday. Her younger sister laid flowers at the crash site, and her older sister, Brandy, left a tribute on social media. You were someone we always looked up to, someone I always wanted to be. You were just perfect to me, she said. Meanwhile, Michelle's cousin, Laurel Graham, said, those that were killed, they're the most amazing, beautiful people we've ever met. Just always say that about someone. I mean, you rarely read something saying, yeah, this person was an asshole. Anyway, the Bundaberg boys' parents were there, and they were heckled by the locals as they left. So 3 innocent people. I hope you're proud. I hope you're proud, a person shouted. Okay, I don't think that's solving anything, but anyway. So Queensland Police Union CEO Ian Levers called for the judiciary to stand up and open a case, and suggested that the Fraser Coast community and those that killed in need to see a plan in action to relieve some of this pain. Thousands of dollars have been raised for the victims' families, and local flags have been lowered at half-mast. And honestly, I don't have a solution to this problem, but like I said, every single time one of these tragedies happen, everyone calls for harsher penalties. And I just feel like if that was the case, if they were going to work, they would have already worked, right? Like that's just my opinion, that if they were going to work, if punishing them more harshly was going to work, then it would already have taken effect. And I don't believe that we should be heckling the family of... there's just a lot of hurt. There's a lot of hurt right now. People are grieving. There's a lot of grief right now. And it was a senseless death. It was a senseless death for a stupid choice. And I feel that that's where a lot of these hurt feelings and a lot of these thought processes are going. So someone with a clearer head needs to be making decisions, and it's clearly not these people, because they don't have a clear head right now. They just lost their loved one in what they consider to be reckless, which is 100%, they're 100% true. It's 100% accurate. But anyway, that's my social commentary on juvenile crime. I see so much of it up here in the north of Queensland. There is just so much youth crime. The youth crime rate up here is just ridiculous. And yeah, I honestly don't believe that harsher penalties will deter anyone in any way. I mean, you're just putting more pressure on a system that's already pretty freaking pressured. So anyway, let's move along, shall we? Let's move right along. Right along. Not too far along though, I don't want to fall off. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Drugs are bad. Okay? So hundreds have been arrested after a monopoly market on the dark web. It was called a monopoly market, by the way. Drug site has been taken down. So basically, how it goes or how it works is it was kind of like an eBay, but for drugs. Kind of is the best way to describe it. And it was a market like any other market, and it has been taken down, and hundreds of people are now due to be arrested. So thousands of people who were secretly bought illicit drugs from notorious dark web marketplace could soon be hunted down and arrested. So Europol has warned, after agents seized a smuggling site called Monopoly Market. So over 300 suspects involved in the site for trafficking of drugs like methamphetamines or opioids and cocaine were today arrested in a coordinated worldwide arrest raid. How awesome is that? So police have seized more than $80 million in cash in cryptocurrencies, which is like a lot of money. And the operation codenamed Spectre. I mean, oh my God, that is so hilarious. Now, the reason why I think that's funny is because it's actually run by the Brits and the British people, the Interpol, and Scotland Yard and place like that were the ones who did it. So the fact that they called it Spectre is pretty funny. If you're a giant nerd like me, you'll know why I'm giggling. So the large haul included 258 kilos of amphetamines, 43 kilos of cocaine, 43 kilos of MDMA, and 10 kilos of LSD and ecstasy pills. The site, which hacked the Monopoly man in the dark sunglasses for its logo, had listings for high-quality crack cocaine and an array of other drugs in categories like steroids. Of course, raids and arrests were carried out in the United Kingdom, the United States, Austria, France, Germany, Netherlands, Poland, Switzerland, and as far as Brazil. I don't know about any cases of Australian targets being targeted. So, yay! Turns out we're not complete druggos. A number of suspects were considered high-value targets as police specialists' teams gained access to vendors' expensive buyer lists. So, Europol declared thousands of customers across the globe were now at risk of prosecution. So they actually just, like I said, they arrested the drug dealer parts of this. And now they will be going after the customers, if you will. So be wary if you bought from this website. You're about to get busted, yo. Yeah, so, or potentially busted. In the run-up of the operation, the US, Germany, and German authorities shut down the multi-billion-dollar drug marketplace Hydra in April last year. So until its takedown, Hydra was the highest grossing dark web market and the massive estimated revenues of about $2 billion with a B. German authorities seized $38 million in cryptocurrency in the Hydra bust. So in terms of arrest, Spectre was, sorry, still funny, was even more successful than the previous operations codenamed Disruptor and Dark Hunter. I mean, it's a better name. That's why they were more successful. That's what I'm going with. And you have to prove that it's not. So in terms of arrests, yeah, they were like more successful. The agency said the troves of evidence from earlier dark web busts allowed operatives to build intelligence packages that led to the latest arrests. So the operation sends a strong message to criminals on the dark web. Apparently, international law enforcement has the means and the ability to identify and hold you accountable for your illegal activities, even on the dark web. So they're basically saying no one is safe. Because you shouldn't be doing bad things. Just stop being bad. Stop being so naughty. Stop being so naughty. Alrighty, let's move along. So, everybody whoever bought drugs, quick, go flush your stash. Okay, so this one is another online thing, but it's actually a Cash App. So Cash App founder Bob Lee was stabbed in the heart and lung in a fatal attack, an autopsy report says. So the US tech, again, this is not an Australian story, but still an interesting story. I mean, you have to admit that's pretty interesting. Just give me a quick second. Yes, 2 and 3. Executive Bob Lee suffered from knife wounds that pierced his heart and lung, according to the newly released autopsy report from San Francisco's medical examiner's office. So I need 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, 5. I'm going to go round and through, but not dropping it off. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Lee, who co-founded the mobile payment service provider Cash App, was stabbed to death in a Rincon Hill neighborhood in the pre-dawn hours of April 4th. So the toxicology report showed Lee, 43, had cocaine, ketamine, and alcohol in his system. Wow. Brother, you partied hard. You partied hard, friend. You sure did. He had ketamine, cocaine, and alcohol. Jeebus. That was one hell of a party, hey, Jeffrey? So, yeah, wow. Sorry, I can't get over that. He just mixed so many drugs together. He was just like, I'll have all the drugs. But the substances weren't indicated as a factor of his death. The alcohol was the equivalent to the amount of a beer. The ketamine could have been given as an anesthesia at the hospital. Okay. And the chief medical examiner of Texas. However, they can't really explain the cocaine, can they? So Von Crows reviewed the analysis of Lee's toxicology report in the CNN. He said that the cocaine appeared to be used around the time of Lee's death, but was a low amount. So they're saying that even though he was on drugs, and drugs are bad, okay, they don't believe that it was the actual drugs that unalived him, if you will. Because, yeah, of the obvious stab wounds. The autopsy report goes to pretty grim detail about the entrepreneur's final hours. So after Lee was taken to the hospitals, the doctors frantically tried to save him for about 4 hours. So during surgery, they attempted to close 2 of the wounds in Lee's heart. Obviously, they failed. And 1 in his lung. Again, they failed. Despite the efforts of the doctors, and that was quite an effort, 4 hours of surgery, he succumbed to his wounds shortly after 7 a.m. So that's kind of really sad. So an associate of Lee's in the tech industry has been charged with the murder for Lee. So she was scheduled to be arraigned in the San Francisco courtroom on Tuesday afternoon, but oh sorry, he's not a she, he is a he. But his arraignment was rescheduled for May 18th. I don't know why I thought it was a she. Maybe because their name is Naima. So I thought that was a girl's name. But apparently it's a he. So he'll be arraigned on May 18th. Authorities have said that Lee and Naima knew each other as they were in a vehicle shortly before the stabbing. Okay. It's not a lot of information to go on, but alright. Okie dokie, artichoke. I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. This is very poorly written, and I'm having to read it and try and also figure out what the fudge they're talking about at the same time, because I didn't even know that this happened. This is all news to me too. Anyway, so authorities, like I said, they said that Lee and the accuser knew each other, and they were in the car shortly with each other. So documents from the district attorney's office have laid out what authorities say preceded the stabbing. A witness described a close friend of Lee's said that he went over to the apartment after being invited by Lee on April 3rd. There, Lee was drinking with a woman later identified as the assailant's sister. A motion to detain, a document states. The witness then told the police that the woman was married, but her relationship was possibly in jeopardy. And the witness was unsure whether the woman and Lee had an intimate relationship, according to the document. But I think that's where that speculation is going. They speculate that they had an intimate relationship, because otherwise why would her brother stab this guy? So Lee later told the witness that they were going to go to a hotel room where he invited the woman, but she declined. She was like, nah, bruz, you go do you. I'm good. So while at the hotel room, the witness said that the accuser, I'm going to call him Mono, asked Lee whether his sister was doing drugs or anything inappropriate. The document states Lee had told Mono nothing inappropriate had happened, according to the document. A late car ride happened after that. So after the conversation with Mono, Lee and the witness went to Lee's apartment at about 12:30 a.m. on April 4th when Lee left, the document said. So apparently Lee just left. Surveillance footage shows Mono arriving at his sister's apartment building in a white BMW around about 8:30 p.m. on April 3rd, and later shows Lee entering the building at around 2:39 a.m. on April 4th. So a little after 2 a.m, security footage shows Lee and Mono entering an elevator together and getting into Mono's BMW. So obviously they went for a little bit of a wee drive and a wee chat, which ended badly. Clearly. You know, because he's dead. So, additional footage from the area shows the two driving in the car together. So, they even have footage of that. And eventually, the two subjects are identified by their faces. They seem to be wearing the same clothing in the back of the frame, so you can't actually tell which one is which in the videos. They can't tell who's who in the zoo, basically. So, after about 5 minutes, the subject wearing a white-coloured top consistent with Mono's appearance to be wearing suddenly moves towards the other subject, the document states. The two subjects then separate. The person in the dark-coloured clothing, who authorities have now believed to be Lee, walks northbound, while the person in the light-coloured clothing walks southbound and stops along a fence where the knife is ultimately recovered. So he pre-planned this. Like, he got a knife first and then hid it there. Wow. You done fucked up, Lee. You done fucked up. You lied to him. He knew facts, and now you're gonna pay the price, which is terrible. Anyway, the BMW then leads at a high rate of speed, the document states. So, obviously, they don't talk about the actual fact that he was murdered. But, yeah, like I said, that's pretty intense. So, an autopsy found that Lee was stabbed 3 separate times, once in the hip and twice in the chest, according to the document. One of the stab wounds directly penetrated Lee's heart, causing his death. A kitchen knife was found near the scene, and District Attorney Jenkins said in a news conference, adding that the department had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That moment is when he committed this murder, and I kind of agree. There's sort of no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. It definitely looks like it. So on April 11th, investigators found a text message from Mono's sister to Lee that showed the sister checking in on Lee, according to the motion to detain the document. So the text message, as per the document, said, "Just wanted to make sure you're doing okay, because I know that Naima came your way down hard on you, and thank you for being such a classy man and handling it with class." So obviously she didn't know that her brother had not handled it very well. It was coming down hard on him, and then there's, you know, murdering him. So meanwhile, additional details in an August 2022 incident involving a woman and Mono were made available to the police in a police report in the San Francisco Chronicle. So police in another place released Mono on a misdemeanor battery charge after a woman reported that he attacked her. So it looks like he already had that kind of personality. So the woman's name was redacted from the statement, but really, in this point, it's not important. He denied the allegations in questions, referring to the officers as like some sort of conspiracy theory bullshit. So, you know, all in all, he's not a very nice dude. He's not very nice, okay? It's terrible. So the woman told police that he was prone to behavioral shifts, and reported telling that 1 minute he would be fine and the next minute he would just like go off his chops for no frickin' reason. There was no arrest and no case was filed. This is just what the woman had said. So he apparently grabbed her right arm, pushed her into a counter, all of that stuff. Like I said, it argues against his character and sort of states that he's always been a violent person. So I hope he gets convicted. I hope he goes to prison for a really long time. It won't bring back the dude, and I hope the sister doesn't blame herself too much, because honestly, you couldn't help but actually blame yourself, I suppose. I mean, who else are you going to blame? But for the fact that you were sleeping with a dude, or your brother thought you were, he would still be alive, so. But you don't have control over someone else's actions. They're his actions. And he did them. So therefore, hopefully, he will pay the consequences. Anyway, moving on. This next story is out of the UK, and I will give the caveat that it does have the death of children in this next story. So if you are sensitive to that kind of content, then please swipe on or just fast forward through this next bit. So, I'm an evil nurse. Nurse accused of 7 baby murders wrote in a confronting note afterwards. So a UK nurse accused of murdering 7 babies and trying to kill 10 others has denied ever trying to harm the infants that were in her care. However, they found proof. So Lucy Letbell is accused of killing babies when she was working at the Countess of Chester hospital in the neonatal unit. She allegedly injected babies with air or a fatal dose of insulin. She was questioned on the stands with the allegations against her, the BBC has reported. Have you ever tried to harm a baby? They asked her, and she just replied blatantly, no. Have you ever used insulin with the intention of harming a baby? She was asked, and she again denied it. Have you ever physically assaulted a baby? The third question, and once more denied that she had anything to do with anything. However, the court was shown scrawled notes found in her diaries in her home, so just bits of paper basically with her musings on it, which the prosecutors have argued show her guilt. I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough, so why should they be good enough, is what she wrote. I'm evil, I did this, is what she wrote in another one. And in a third one, I am an awful person. So in her own handwriting, I don't know how she's going to weasel her way out of that, because that's pretty clear that she did harm to these children, or at the very least felt very responsible for their deaths. But why would you call yourself an evil person if all you did was feel responsible for death? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. So, yeah. She felt like she's somehow been incomplete and done something wrong, which affected those babies, was her excuse. I felt like I must be responsible for some way. She's denied all 22 charges against her, and the trial continues. I mean, I understand why you would maybe dislike yourself a little bit, but you, like, even if you pull out just that one sentence, there's other parts of it where it just says, I'll read you part of her note, just so, like, you can see what I'm saying. Sure, I can't breathe, I can't face every day, I'd like to kill myself. I'm overwhelming fear, something that I'll never get out of. I have no hope. I haven't been coping. I'm so wrong. It's all getting too much. I hate myself, tracing over my every move. I feel alone and scared. What have I done? This is pathetic. I hate myself. I have to get through this. Why did I do this? I killed them because I'm not good enough, and I'm a horrible person. I don't deserve the love of my mum and dad. The world's better off without me in it. I'm evil. I did this. So if you read the whole of it, it does sound a little bit self-deprecating, and it does sound like she is feeling responsible for murdering these children, or at the very least for being responsible for the care of these children and not being able to provide that care. But I don't understand why she would say I'm evil and I did this. If it was just a feeling of responsibility, I can understand her saying I'm scared and I feel alone and I'm not good enough and I'm not competent. they're different statements to I did this and I am evil. Anyway, moving on from that story, because my kids came home and that's why my dog went off her tits like a crazy dog. My kids came home, and then I had to help my son deal with a little bit of trauma from school, thanks to some bullies. So, yay! I'm feeling really deflated right now. Alright, shake it off and move on to my next story. So, the next story today is, let's see, drum roll please. A kidnapping! So, a man who kidnapped 2 kids in Melbourne found guilty of assault. So, yay, awesome. A man who, bound and gagged a Melbourne mother before kidnapping her 2 children has been found guilty of assaulting the woman. I hope he's also found guilty of kidnapping, because that's bullshit. So Jin admitted to 5 charges over offending Melbourne East, over an episode of offending in Melbourne East, in August of 2021, where he kidnapped 2 young kids and put them inside the family's Mercedes-Benz and then demanded $1 million for their safe return. He pled guilty for kidnapping, for 2 kidnapping offences, false imprisonment, aggravated battery, and theft of a vehicle. So, he stole the children and the car. He sounds like a delightful human. Alrighty, but I'm glad that he pled guilty, at least. So, however, he faced a jury trial. Sorry, he didn't plead guilty. He pled not guilty in the Victoria County Court after pleading not guilty to assaulting the children and the children's mother and of the other 2 charges. So, Xi broke into the family's Blackburn North home armed with a knife at 6:30 a.m. on August 23rd after parking at the front and waiting for the father to leave for work. So he obviously planned to do this. Once inside, he confronted the woman, tied her hands and legs together and taped her mouth shut. Xi then took the 2 children, aged 3 and 5, and put them inside the boot of the family's Mercedes-Benz before returning to the house where he assaulted the mother with a knife. At least he didn't do it in front of the children. He then abducted the children in the family car. Police found the children in the back seat of the Mercedes-Benz outside Xi's home in Mitcham at around about 12 hours. So I really hope they weren't in the car that whole time. Jurors retired to deliberate on a verdict on and the other remaining 3 charges on Monday, returning on Wednesday morning. Guilty, the 4-person said to each charge, which is nice. And Judge Cannon thanked the jurors for their service and discharged them. Xi was taken back to custody and will return to court on August 2nd for his pre-sentence hearing. And hopefully I will have an update for you guys by then, when he does. And I'll have to give you a rundown because it will be such a long time since we've done this case. But yes, I am glad that he has been found guilty because I think that he is guilty, clearly. He did what they said he did, and yeah, he's not a nice person. Okay? Okay. Alright, let's move on to our next story. Okie dokie, artichokey. So this next story is about Harry Gardside, who is a boxing star, apparently. I have no idea who he is, but then I don't really watch boxing, so how would I know? He's been charged over domestic violence allegations. So Australian boxing star Harry Garside said he has nothing to hide. Garside has got nothing to hide after he was charged with assault. So Garside was taken into custody at the Sydney airport where he returned from filming a stint on the I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. That show's hilarious, and in all seriousness, I never know any of the celebrities that are on that show, especially Australian ones. I'm just like, I don't know who that is. Who is that? So, I mean, in all fairness, though, to the show and to people watching this video today, I don't really watch TV. I'm more of a book reader. I'm a nerd. I just said that today. I mean, it's May the 4th. I'm a giant book nerd. I love books. I love books. Look at this book. Wouldn't you think? My collection's complete. Wouldn't you think I'm a girl who has everything? He was bailed and will appear in court at a later date. The charge of common assault relates to an alleged domestic violence dispute. In a statement posted to Instagram today, Garside said the conduct of the police and the presence of the media at the Sydney International Airport on Tuesday took him completely by surprise. Oh, only he can be the one abusing people, apparently. I mean, not that I'm not implying the police were abusing anyone. I'm just saying he felt violated. Oh, poor him. He categorically denies any of the allegations of violence and disputes the account that were given to police. So, yes, so innocent until proven guilty and all that bullshit. But yeah, okay. He has nothing to hide, and he won't defend himself. He will defend himself, against this charge because he has nothing to hide. He said the police have not been able to provide all the facts because, you know, it's still an open case, so they're not allowed to because it will ruin it. But I'm confident that my reputation will be vindicated through the legal process, apparently. Yeah, but the thing is that even if he is innocent, he's been now tarred with that brush. So, yeah. So the lightweight boxer won a bronze medal representing Australia in the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo and was a contender for the 2024 Games in Paris. Sorry, not was, is a contender. Unless he's found guilty of domestic violence charges, and then he won't be allowed to do anything. Because we hold the sportsmen and celebrities up on a higher regard than we do the average human. So, if you misbehave or behave badly, you should be prosecuted more harshly because kids want to grow up to be like you. Okay? Okay. Awesome. But we don't have any more information on that today, and hopefully as it rolls on, we will get some more information. I really hope that he is innocent. I really hope that he isn't an asshole who beats up his girlfriends. So, that would be nice for once. But only time will tell, I suppose. And since we don't have any of the evidence yet, we don't know anything yet. Look at it. It's starting to look so great, guys. Alrighty. So, this next story is out of Melbourne, and it's about an accused killer allegedly asks for a bring my little friend, quote unquote, before shooting at a Melbourne boxing match. So, I have no idea what this is about, because I haven't read it yet. So, one of two men charged with the murder after shooting at a Melbourne boxing event allegedly texted the other to ask him to bring my little friend along just 90 minutes before. So Abdullah and I have no idea how to say his last name, and I'm really not going to try, and Osama, also not going to try, have both pled guilty. Both pled not guilty. Jesus, Hayley, you just think everyone's guilty and then you want them all to plead guilty because it would make the legal system so much easier. Not guilty to the murder of Benjamin Togel on March 1st, 2019, and are standing trial in the Victorian Supreme Court. So, Abdul and his two older brothers and other friends got tickets to the big-time boxing event at the night and arrived at about 8 p.m. Others at the venue say that there was tension between the men and seated at the table 28 and another group seated at table 64, including Tungal and Omar, who were accused of the attempted murder. So Abdul entered the venue and he left again carrying a black satchel and headed back to his car, apparently, where he armed himself. CCTV TV footage shows Abdul placing something in front of the bag as he approached the front of the Melbourne Pavilion where the event was being held. Prosecutor Sarah Thompson told jurors on Wednesday, but that's what the CCTV showed. A witness told police that he returned inside and he appeared to clutch the bag in the front of his stomach as if he was guarding something, he said. Prosecutors alleged that El Nasser then turned his phone off and put it on airplane mode and then used another phone or had someone else text his brother or this other dude on behalf. So the Melbourne Pavilion 28, bring my little friend with you and come, Thomas said, reading the message sent at 8:36 p.m. There was a call between the two numbers and the friend replied, I'm on my way. So jurors heard CCTV footage show El Nasser, who was the one I was talking about, Abdul, outside when his friend arrived, and the two men got out, and a few times he crosses the road outside just before 10 p.m. The groups of people at 28 and 64 were kicked out of the event by the organisers, only referred to as Mr. Gatto and Mr. Handra. So they were kicked out for causing a scene. So they'd already been causing a scene at the time. So, yeah. Okay. The prosecutor alleged that these two men had an argument and an agreement or an understanding that they would shoot a person or persons from table 64 with the intention to cause death or serious bodily injury. Because these are the two men, or one man had a fight and then the other just turned up and just said, bras, I got you back or some shit. So he was hit once in the chest with a bullet and died at the scene. He was shot once another one was shot once in the thigh and required emergency surgery. Dashcam footage from passing motorists was played for the jurors, including audio of the two shots followed by a pause and a volley of more shots. The incident lasted about 20 seconds in total, Thomas said, and her opening remarks to jurors are continuing. So El Nasser and El Douche is what I'm calling him. Barristers will open up their arguments for their case later on today. So hopefully, like I said, I will have some more information for you guys as this case progresses. But what douches, hence the reason why I gave him El Douche as his name. It's not his real name. Names have been changed for the purpose of me not giving a fuck. Alrighty, pop that down into there. Yeah, that looks pretty. And then 1, 2. I call this my Space Invader stitch. Because, look, if you look at it, it looks a little bit like Space Invaders. You know, the game. Okay, moving right along. This is a nice little quick one. So it's about Ricardo Barder's murder trial. So a juror referred to the DPP for disobeying directions in the trial. So I was talking about this trial the other day. So a juror in the Ricardo Bellamaro murder trial will be referred to the Direction of Public Relations prosecutor after disobeying, oh my god, this is a mouthful today, a judge's directions. So the Barbaro trial began in the Victorian Supreme Court this week after the 38-year-old pled not guilty to the murder of his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Ellie Price. So if you guys remember from last week, from earlier this week, sorry, I was talking about this case. Sorry, I just need to put a double crochet into the top of this because I want it to match the bottom one. And then one over here, like that. So that should match the bottom. Alrighty, hold on. Oof. So it's where he's pled non-guilty to the murder of his on-again, off-again girlfriend. Price was 26 and she was found dead in her South Melbourne apartment in May of 2020. So 14 jurors were impaneled for the trial in Melbourne on Monday, including 10 men and 4 women. However, The jury was discharged by Justice Lex Lasley on Wednesday morning after he discovered a juror had disobeyed his directions. It's going to be necessary for me to discharge you as a jury, he stated. Hold on, give me a second. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, buckle some more. Apparently. I'm only one call away. Nope, I don't want that to do that. 1, 2, and then I think I'm gonna go 3 and 4. Yes, and then a 1. Yes. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do like that and then back into there. Sorry, sometimes my thought process is that I just have to think through it before continuing on, and then my hands just do whatever they want to do afterwards. So just while I still have all of this in my brain, I need to do it. I see what I've done. Undo, 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 undo. We'll go. And 3. Much better. Yeah, I like it. It made it pop. I made that pop. Look at that. Look at it. Look at it. It's popping. Yeah, popping, locking. You didn't follow my directions, he said. I proposed to refer the case to this district director of public prosecutions. Thank you, jury. You may now leave the court. So, we have no idea why. But obviously the directions were that you weren't allowed to talk about the case or research the case in any way, and someone must have been very, very naughty and looked it up. Well, that's my theory, and I am sticking to it. Someone was very naughty and did some looking uppering. 1, 2. Okay, so let's move on from that one, and we'll move on to our next one. Got a fair few stories to get through today, mostly because I just feel like talking, and I'm sure you guys feel like listening, and you can always stop watching if you want to, but these mostly are short stories, so it's okay. So 6-figure Lambo exploded in a ball of flames on a Sydney street has been caught on CCTV. So how interesting is that one? Before moving on, let us talk about it. So 2 figures in black were caught on camera dousing a luxury sports car in accelerant before it burst into flames on a Sydney street. So it wasn't even an accident. They purposely lit the Lambo on fire. That car is on fire. That car is on fire. Oh my god, poor police. Poor dude who owns the car. Unless it was the dude who owns the car. Okay, speculation, Hayley, speculation. We can't speculate these things. But I can speculate. But I doubt it. I mean, I don't know. So police are still trying to find the 2 people totally destroying the bright blue 2022 Lamborghini in Olympic Park, which was captured on security footage and released earlier today. So if you'd like to go watch that, you can. So the ball of flames lit up the night sky, no doubt, no doubt. With the explosion so loud that it woke up residents who raced out to find the car worth up to $410,000 ablaze in the early hours of the morning on Tuesday. Who the hell would spend that much money on a car? People with more money than sense. No doubt. That's who. Just saying. That's a lot of money. I just wish I had the money. I don't want the car. I just want the money to buy said car. But I wouldn't buy a car with it. Anyway, so New South Wales Police have appealed to the public for any information, with officers investigating if the fire was linked to the underworld revenge attack suspect. So a BMW i8 parked in front of the Lamborghini was also damaged. Oh, bummer. The car was totally destroyed, basically melting into the road, said Superintendent Adam Drewberry. Oh, his name is Dewberry? That's such a cute name. I bet he hates it. Anyway, no one was injured. So I think it was one of those tit for tat, get back things. Because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to burn. They didn't even hang around and watch it burn like the Joker. They just, like, burnt it and then pissed off. Geniuses. Anyway, moving on. So I heard this one on the radio this morning and I thought I would look it up myself because I thought it was interesting and sad at the same time, but also because I had talk about crime. So why not talk about something that's in the news? So 2 police officers were stabbed and a man was shot dead in rural South Australia. So the story goes that a man went on a stabby rampage in rural Australia, stabbing 2 police officers and seriously injured one of them. And then he was shot dead by the South Australian police, which is, you know, kind of fair. He'd been followed up on they were following up a minor disturbance from the day before. So Police Commissioner Grant Stevens said the man, Sean Farris, stabbed Barrett Sergeant Ian Tom, 53, and Sergeant Jordan Alley, 32, multiple times before he was shot dead. So they did try and subdue the man, and obviously they failed at subduing him and ended up having to shoot him and killed him instantly. The officers were attending Ferris's home at Simmons Street in Crystal Brook, about 200 kilometres north of Adelaide, at 10:15 a.m. today when they were attacked. So he just, like, started attacking them. It's just so strange. Obviously, it had some mental health problems or something. I don't know. I can't speculate. I don't have that information, so I can only speculate, I suppose, or you could argue. So Stevens said Todd, who was the officer in charge of the nearby Port German, suffered life-threatening critical injuries after being stabbed in the neck, in the arms, and in the hands. Todd was airlifted to the Royal Adelaide Hospital in a serious but stable condition. Atlee, the officer in charge in Crystal Brook, suffered stab wounds to his right leg and arm, and he was taken to the Port Pirie Hospital and airlifted to the Royal Adelaide Hospital in serious but stable condition. It's understood that the officers were wearing stab-proof vests and body cams. So I'm assuming that the officers those body cams will be under review. But by the sounds of it, they used all of the necessary force that was needed. I don't think anyone would argue that they used unnecessary force. I mean, they almost died. He was well known to Brooke for a short time that he was here, which was probably about 5 or 6 years, the officers have been said. But other residents in the town have told of the increasingly strange and menacing behaviour that he has been showing. So, yeah, there are multiple reports of him confronting strangers with a walking stick and also threatening to unleash his husky dog, Buddy. Stevens said the officers were following up on in relation to a disturbance at a local shopping market the day before, when they turned up to his house. He would not elaborate on the specifics of the incident which led to the call-out, but Stevens said that the incident was very traumatic for everyone involved, including a neighbour who was first on scene. Took it upon himself to, after potentially hearing gunshots, to help. I can't convey how grateful we are to that Good Samaritan. And you would be, like, he heard shots being fired and came running out to help. Like, instead of running the other way, he went running towards gunfire. I mean, that in itself is heroic. So officers were first on the scene after this man and did an excellent job to maintain perspective, because it must have been very difficult to maintain perspective on what was happening, for sure, when you see two of your fellow police officers just laying on the ground. It must be absolutely scary. So scary. Okay, the sad reality is that police officers are injured quite frequently on duty, and we're very hopeful that both the police officers come through with the injuries they have received. Our position as police officers who attend work have every right to expect to go home safe at the end of their shift, and I agree. A coroner inquest will be taken into the man's death and the stabbing of the officers, Stevens said, but that's just normal protocol. You would expect that anyway, because, like I said, I don't see them saying that, you know, they used any undue force. I mean, they almost died. Then one of them is in a serious but stable condition. I mean, that in itself says enough. So the association was providing support for the officers and their families. This is a horrifying reminder of the levels of extreme violence of the front line of police officers have to face when they're on duty. And I agree. It is a terrible job, and I give them 20 million points for being such amazing human beings who can deal with this bullshit every day. Like, I couldn't do it. I don't know how they do it, but they do, and they do it without too much complaint, to be honest. And it's absolutely amazing. Well done to our police officers and our armed forces and our security guys and our ambulance drivers and anyone who sacrifices themselves for a paycheck, because honestly, that's what you're giving up. You're giving up your safety to help others for money. And sometimes, and definitely the money is not enough. It's never enough. So they have to do it for the love of wanting to help someone. And so cases like this must make it so much more difficult for them to get up and go to work every day, knowing that today could be the last day that they kiss their wife goodbye. And I also feel sorry for the man that they had to shoot, because those poor police officers have to live with that decision for the rest of their days, and they will, without doubt, be questioning for the rest of their lives whether they did the right thing. Or whether there was a way they could resolve it with a peaceful resolution. There wasn't, but they no doubt won't think that, because they're decent human beings. Alrighty, I think I've got a couple of quick short stories to go, and then we are done for the day. I'm going to wrap up. I'm just going to finish this one round, and then we'll wrap up. Alrighty, we have another stabbing over here. So a horse trainer admits to stabbing a friend and housemate at his lowest ebb, which is strange. So a former horse trainer was on a downward spiral when he stabbed a long-term friend and a new housemate in a kind of psychotic episode where he believed that he was being poisoned by his housemate. So, you know, clearly all his ducks were not in a row. He was a few sandwiches short of a picnic, whatever you want to call it. So, Thomas Hughes, 56, on Wednesday admitted to 6 charges after a frenzied attack on Simon Gray and Jennifer King in Melbourne in August of last year. So he appeared in the Melbourne Magistrate Court via a video link from prison where he'd been held for the past 7 months. Because that's what happens when you do the wrong thing, okay? Oh, what have I done here? Oh, Hailey Bree. Oh, Hazy baby, what have you done? You know, I knew it when I was doing it, that I was doing the wrong stitch there. And I was like, no, that's the right stitch. And then just kept going. So, you know. Sometimes I'm a genius. Oh, hazy baby, sometimes you're not very bright. Hughes had recently moved in with King after failing to pay rent at a previous property, the court was told. And on August 8, he met with Gary and asked Gary if he could get into his Volkswagen before driving around the corner and locking the doors. Hughes then pulled out a kitchen knife and yelled at Gary, "I'm going to kill you, you fucking dog." Basically, fucking dog. That's probably how it went. in that tone as well. He stabbed Gary in the neck, causing a graze, and then stabbed him 4 to 5 times in the stomach. Gary managed to defend himself and escape. He later went to a medical clinic for treatment, and the police were alerted. On the same day, Hughes also stabbed King 2 to 3 times, including in her chest, while at their Ascot Vale share house. She called her daughter and said that Hughes had stabbed her. When emergency services arrived, they found King in the laundry with blood trails across the house and through the backyard. Both victims were taken to the hospital, and the court was told it's unknown who Hughes stabbed first. They don't know if he stabbed the woman first and then subsequently the man, which makes sense but yeah, also I can appreciate them not knowing the sequence of timelines. So the next day, the police found Hughes driving around in Yarra Valley. So the officers followed him, including by an air wing, to Kingston Road, and police tried to stop Hughes, but he did not pull over. Instead, he sped off for 300 meters until he drove into a tree and was arrested. He was taken to hospital with broken ribs. Oh, I remember this story now. Here's the weird one who, ran himself into a tree. I did tell this story a while ago, but this has got more detail in it, which is great. So he suffered a fall from Moonee Valley Racecourse in December of 2020, causing a spine and knee injuries, and had lost his horse training business, and his gambling addiction had escalated, plunging him into debt. He was spending thousands of dollars 4 to 6 times a week, apparently, to fuel his gambling addiction. So yeah, he also lost his struggle to cocaine addiction, and his 15-year relationship broke down due to infidelity. He then lost contact with his 2 sons. So his life is just going downhill. It's gone to shit in the fucking handbasket. I have no idea what that actual saying is, but I like mine better. Something, a head in a head basket. Something dark side, something force. So he was suffering from serious delusions where he thinks his roommates were gassing him and poisoning him. And that might have been the drugs. And so he is being evaluated for psychosis and medical distress, which were because of the drugs. Drugs are bad, okay? Prosecutors withdrew 4 of the charges, with Hugh pleading guilty to 2 charges of reckless engaging in contact by stabbing, and to a police chase for each, and for threatening to kill an unlawful imprisonment. Williams orders Hughes be addressed by a correctional order. So he got off quite lightly, really, for murdering someone. But yeah, what a inspirational human, she says sardonically, while reading crime, while talking and discussing crime. All right, let's see if I can fit one more in before we're done. Alrighty, this is a quick one, and hopefully it'll get me to the corner of this one. Of this stitch. So a firefighter has been charged over allegedly lighting a blaze in New South Wales, which doesn't surprise me because it's actually quite more common than people think. Firebugs turning into firefighters. So New South Wales police have charged a volunteer firefighter over allegedly deliberately lighting a blaze in the state's northwest. Detectives arrested 47-year-old man on East Street in Uralla at 8 a.m. yesterday. He was charged with intentionally causing fire and recklessness as it spread into a Category A fire. And yeah, so he's a genius. Police will allege in court that the man, who is a volunteer firefighter, deliberately lit a fire in the grasslands near Kingston Road in Uralla on September 16th in 2022. It will be alleged that the fire burnt through more than 4 hectares of grassland and a paddock before it was extinguished by the New South Wales Royal Fire Service, the RFS personnel. The man was granted strict conditional bail and is due to appear in court next month. Yesterday's arrest came after police and the RFS experts launched an investigation into suspicious fires across the Uralla Shire and local government area. So this is not that uncommon. It's quite common that volunteer firefighters will light fires so that they can be the hero. It's a hero complex. It happens more often than is reported, for sure. And because it is a volunteer service, they really just take anyone who will be willing and able to fight fires. So if we paid our firefighters, we would have a better quality of firefighter, and there would be more of a vetting service happening here in Australia. But that's just my opinion. And like my grandmother said, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. Doesn't mean I want to see or hear yours. Still my favourite saying. Alrighty, so that is Lillian for today. And isn't she looking beautiful? And don't you just love her little eggies? She just looks like a little flowering bud. I love her. Okay, until tomorrow, peeps, I am out, and I shall see you tomorrow. Or you shall see me, because I don't actually see you. But anyway, have a great and wonderful night.